Hello. Today we are going to see how to set up a physics scene, a physics simulation scene that can be used within a bullet time effect later on. So in this part of the tutorial, first part, we will set up the physics, and in the second part I will show you how to apply the bullet time onto this scene. If you only want to know how to create the bullet time for your own physics simulation, you can skip this tutorial, this first part, and go directly to the second. If you want to know how to do all this stuff, then let's go ahead. Have fun. Okay, let's start with the default cube and a square camera. We are reducing the size of the default cube to 1 meter and give it a bevel that it looks a little bit nicer. So we can use it now to multiply it for a cube of cubes. So for that I've accelerated this process here. So multiply all these cubes and build a stack of it, and now we have a nice object where we can put our projectiles in. So next is to add a cone to use it as a projectile. We have to put it into the right direction and scale it to 4 meters. And then we're moving it into the y direction by 50 meters. So here will it start. We also give this cone a little slight bevel and shade it smooth so it's looking better. And then we duplicate it and put it also on the other side. So we have 2 projectiles that are approaching our cubes from opposite directions. That is our scene. And the cubes hopefully will explode into the height. So the camera the clipping has to be set to 1000 because we have a large scene here, and the camera clipping is on 100 meters by default. So now we see also the whole scene again, and then we have to adjust it a little bit so we have a nicer look to the scene. Okay, now we are putting a base plane into the scene and adding some physics to it. So that is a passive object, so things can lie on it or stand on it. And now we will add some physics to our projectiles. Their weight is 50 kilograms and they are animated. That is important. And our cubes weighing 1 kilogram and they are not animated. And we are only doing that for 1 cube and put this physics to all other cubes that way. Okay, so next we are copying our base plane on building some chamber around the base plane so that the cubes that are exploding by our projectiles have some borders and not flying away, and we can also set them invisible, and the physics will also work nonetheless. Okay, now we are accelerating our projectiles. So we set them to their initial point by inserting a keyframe, and then by 15 frames we set them to their target point. From this point on, the physics simulation will start. So we set the animation for 15 frames for both of these projectiles, and then see, okay, that works so far. Okay, Now we have to bake our physics to the scene, and we will see, I have accelerated this because it takes some time to bake the physics. We see if we start our animation, okay, nothing happens. And that is because the animated parameter was not keyframed. So we have to set the animated parameter also with keyframes, and on frame 16 we have to set it off. We have to switch it off. So the physics simulation starts at keyframe 60 or frame 16. So baking the animation or baking the physics, we see, okay, it works, but the projectiles stop just before they reach, or even when they reach our cubes. So we have to make sure that the handle type of the animation for both of these projectiles is set to vector. Yeah, we have to have straight lines here and edges, and no smooth Bezier curves or something like that. So baking again, we see now. Okay, let's start this animation. We see now that is as it is expected to work. Okay, so that basically is the right setup now for our physics that we later on will use to make a bullet time effect on it. Okay, so just like that, we can do in the viewport. We also want to do then in the real scene with our real camera during the running time. Now the time is stopped, of course, in our viewport. Okay, before we can do that, sorry, we have to do a few adjustments. We have to add a light to the scene. We do that by adding a torus and give it, putting it into some height, maybe 195 or 100 meters. Okay, and then give it a shading so it emits light from a black body. I'm using black bodies for emitting light, 5500 Kelvin, and we put that into emission, and the emission strength is 250. And now we can see, if we switch to rendered view and turning down the scene light, then we have some nicely lit scene here, what we can use later on for our bullet time effect. Okay, next point is, switching back here, to change the physics a little bit. I want to these cubes to slide a little bit more, so we have to set the parameters for friction a little bit lower and for bounciness a little bit higher, so they slide and bounce a little bit more. And as always, we are transferring these settings to all other objects that way. And now we see, okay, all objects have the same settings now. And we are switching back to our camera view and setting the camera a little bit more central. Bake again our physics because we have changed the physics settings, and run it again. And now we see, okay, very nice, these cubes are sliding a little bit more around the ground and moving a little bit smoother. Okay, that's almost is it. Last thing left to do is to set up the camera, because during bullet time we want to move the camera around the scene in a half circle, and for that we are adding a have to add a camera control into the scene that we can bind the camera to, and that is then doing our half circle. So we are using an arrows object for that purpose. Let's see where we have it. Maybe it's among the cubes. No, it's not. It's among the walls. Yes, it is. Okay, and we rename it to cam control, and we parent this cam control to our camera using control P. And now we can use this camera control to move the camera around the scene simply by rotating it around the Z axis. Okay, that's the physics. See you in the next tutorial for the real bullet time. Thanks and bye-bye.